We have Wuchang Fallen Feathers coming out real soon, and to be honest, it's really quite impressed me, mainly because it's made by a Chinese studio. And in recent years, the Asian developers have just got all of my confidence, and I think you can all agree on that.
What the hell is even that?
Should make players choose the gender of the monkey if it wants to be non-binary or anything like that.
So if you're a massive fan of Souls games or you're not too keen on them, by the end of the video, you will know if you kind of want this game. So here are 10 things you need to know about Wuchang Fallen Feathers. And stick around to the end of the video because we're going to discuss the protagonist, because you can tell the difference from Western developers and Asian developers.
Wait a minute!
So the story of Wuchang Fallen Feathers is that you play as Bei Wuchang, a female pirate warrior who wakes up with amnesia, but also who's infected with a supernatural feathering disease that causes glowing feathers. What's crazy about this is that there is no known cure for this disease, and it starts off small. Feathers form on her limbs, but eventually she will lose her mind and eventually may undergo a monstrous transformation. She's going to be looking for a cure, and as she goes along on her journey, people and enemies will know that she's infected, hence why majority of the people you meet will be attacking her. This is set in the dark fantasy world of the late Ming Dynasty, early 1600s, in a place called Shu. The empire is collapsing and there is war and corruption and supernatural forces. People are contracting the plague and there are beasts roaming the land, and the ruling dynasty is crumbling. And looking at the protagonist, you can tell it is made by an Asian developer because she looks feminine, and that's only a good thing. It's also been described to be around 40 to 60 hours long with multiple endings. Now, what I love about this game is that it is opting for a semi-open world rather than an open world. And lately with games like Black Myth, Wukong, even the first Berserker, I love it that games are going more for the semi-open world areas because first of all, they feel really freaking big. And I feel like they can emphasize more on quality of these areas and environments rather than just giving a massive open world and it's just gonna get very, very boring quickly. There are going to be 5 massive semi-open zones in the game which are all interconnected, and it has been described that you can tackle missions and bosses in a non-linear fashion. So all that means is that you can go out into these semi-open world areas, you can do side missions, you can do the main missions. There's no order in which you need to do it. For instance, you will find chisel fragments and journal scraps which will deepen the narrative of the game. It will unlock dialogue options, and some are required for certain endings of the game. So yes, this is a Souls game, but there are a few differences from the typical Souls genre. There is only one difficulty level. If you keep dying and dying, your attack power will actually increase, but also your vulnerability increases as well.
Son of a bitch!
There will come to a point, if you do keep dying, there will be a demon clone of yourself that will be tracking you and you will have to defeat it. Yeah, that's kind of brutal.
Okay. All right. You think you can do this to me?
So it does make you think that you can't just keep trying the same boss, for example, and keep dying. You would rather turn around, go somewhere else, level up, and maybe come back to that boss later. Because the last thing I want to be doing is freaking fighting myself. And knowing me, I'll probably lose against myself. So in a way, your attack power increases, but in some cases it might be harder. We're just gonna have to wait and see, and I just don't want to lose all my shit. So this is looking like your standard Souls gameplay, but there is an emphasis on dodging in this game. There is also parrying, which all depends on the weapons you get, and I like that. So there are 25 unique weapons across 5 different categories, and you can equip 2 at a time. Some weapons will allow you to block, like IGN said that they played part of the game, and they stated that the Great Axe allowed him to block, whilst parrying was reserved for a longsword. So I love the fact that we can try out these different weapons. If you prefer blocking, if you want to take the risk and focus on parrying, different weapons are going to be better for blocking and parrying. I'm going to try and focus probably on parrying. I'll do my best. I'm going to see, but hopefully.
What if we do a parry?
I'm not up again.
There are some other features to the gameplay which is quite unique. You also have something called Skyborn Might, which is rewarded by perfect dodges and successful attack. This does not include blocking and parrying. So once you have charged this, as you can see in the gameplay, you can unleash these magical / weapon abilities. But what is also interesting is that you can use this without filling that sort of gauge, but it's going to be less effective. So it's pretty cool that you can use this in a time of need if you feel you have to. You will also enhance certain sky art, which are spell-like abilities that are rooted from Chinese mythology. And again, I think this is very cool because there are 40 unique sky arts and you can equip up to 4 at once, integrating this into your playstyle. So what I can assume is that making sure you have different ones that are like fire, maybe magical or ice, I don't know what ones you have, you're going to need a variety against different bosses. So in usual Souls games, currency that you can earn from like enemies and stuff like that are usually used for upgrades. So you get skill points in this one and it looks absolutely huge from your weapon upgrade. And as you can see, depending on which weapon you decide to use, you can see some of the skills that are dependent on what you want to use, such as this skill, the blink kick, is applicable for long swords, and then that skill tree will then lead you to improving that long sword. And at the end of it, you will get certain buffs from your spell skills, as you can see. So combining the spells with your weapons, I really like that they've done this. I prefer this to then using currency because I don't know, I just find it better that, you know, if I die, then I lose all of that currency, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I just always have to get to kind of like a campfire or something, you know? And I like that the spells in this games are not kind of locked to the build. Like in other games, you have to become a mage and then you have to build that kind of skill tree and stuff. You can use these spells alongside your weapons. You can see that you can upgrade these at a shrine, and these shrines will allow you to fast travel between other shrines you have already visited. And what else is great about this is that it is free to respec your skill points. And I like that because it doesn't punish you for just investing in a certain skill tree. If you feel like one weapon, you don't want to go for the long sword, you want to go for something else, you can totally respec your skill points and just invest in that weapon. And I like that. As you go along in the game and get more weapons, I might try out a weapon and be like, okay, I want to use this one. And what is cool about this game is that there will be a transmog feature for outfits you do find in this game. I really wanted this for Black Myth Wukong because there were certain armor sets I got and I was like, I really want to use this, but then I needed the buffs from the other armor sets for the certain worlds and enemies I was in. So bosses and elite enemies drop armor pieces that you can collect and wear, and these sets have both visual and defensive stats. And if you do pre-order this game, you do get some costume sets and stuff like that, which we'll come to. Now, I'm not sure how many bosses there are going to be in this game, but I could imagine there's going to be quite a lot with main bosses, side bosses. Nevertheless, the boss fights I have seen, oh my gosh, these do look pretty incredible. And I think I'm going to get absolutely battered. You can tackle these in an unlinear order. So this is quite interesting, as I assume some bosses are going to just feel so freaking hard. So maybe that's where the game will kind of force you to explore another part of the area so you can build up your skill points and stats. It's going to be interesting how that's going to work, that you can do that in an unlinear fashion, even though you might not be leveled up. And like I said, I'm impressed with these boss battles and the lighting, and some of the graphics and the details looks a lot better than it was originally showed. So when we first saw the graphics of this game, I was a bit like, doesn't look that great. Even though it was very, very early, it does look a lot better now. Recent gameplay, I'm very impressed with it. It looks very sharp. I love the different environments and the massive bosses. I think this game does look awesome. So this game has actually been in development for around 6 years, and they originally started on Unreal Engine 4 before it switched over to Unreal Engine 5, which we've had a lot of games on Unreal Engine 5, and there's no doubt the lighting looks absolutely amazing in this engine. It's made by a Chinese company, Lenzi Games, which were formed in 2016. They haven't really worked on anything else, but their mission is to craft RPGs that are deeply rooted to Eastern history and culture. And like Black Myth Wukong, that was like the first game the developer had done, and what an amazing game that was. A lot of people said it was their game of the year, so I'm not being put off just because it's their first game. So you have the standard edition of this game, which is around £42 in the UK and $49.99 in the USA. Come on, like 40 something pound. This is what I'm talking about. Other companies can say, oh yeah, gaming should be 70, 80 pounds. Less people will buy your game. Player Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. There are only a few games that I will spend 70 pounds on. Listen, Death Stranding 2 is one of my favorites of this year. I was happy to spend that money on that. Well, you know, I wish it was less, but I love it that much that I feel like it deserved to be that much. When games are costing this much, £42, a lot more people are going to invest in a game like this. You have the digital deluxe edition, which is £49.99 or $59.99, which you will get 2 enhanced costume sets, 4 costumes, 5 weapons, and 2 skill point upgrade items. I assume there's going to be like an add-on for a physical edition because loads of companies do that. So I'll be waiting for that one. And also we may be streaming this a day later, maybe on the Friday, just because I think the delivery's coming then. I know digital, I could have had it instant, but I can be patient. And this will also be on PS5, Xbox Game Pass. You know, people on Xbox don't buy their games no more, which is amazing if you have that, but I'll be buying it. Windows PC via Steam and the Epic's Game Store. So my final thoughts on Wuchang Fallen Feathers is that if you are a massive fan of Souls games, I feel like you're gonna love this. I feel like this is looking really, really good. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's looking very promising. But for people who are not really a fan of Souls games, and even for myself, I feel like enough time has passed for me to get back into a Souls game. I feel like if you're not a fan of Souls games, this looks like it's gonna be a pretty hard game, to be honest. I felt very, very drained playing the first Berserker Kazan because it was so freaking hard. I finally completed it, but after playing that, maybe other people were different. They can go back to another Souls game and get straight back into it. Me, I needed a massive break from that. I needed to play a chilled game. I feel like you have to be in the mood to kind of play this game if you're not a fan of Souls games. Now listen, I'm just going to do my best to stay calm in these situations, not get pissed off if I keep dying, learn the mechanics. I feel like my confidence is quite high on how good this game is going to be, just because, again, it's made by Asian developers rather than Western. They've got more of my confidence than Western developers, 100%. And I think that's only evident of the latest games we've been getting from the Western studios lately. The Asian ones know what their audience wants. And it's kind of evident in the protagonist, how she looks, to be honest. When we play as characters like, you know, Stellar Blade, it makes me think of the PS2 era of gaming. It's just so over the top. Do I really want to play as like an ugly character? If I'm playing a video game, even if I'm playing as a man, I want to play as the strongest guy. Like, I want to play as Kratos, freaking six-pack. Like, do I want to play as a fat guy? Not really. If I'm going to be playing a video game, I want to be playing as a superhero kind of thing. You know, I want it to be over the top. So it's crazy that this character actually looks quite feminine, looks quite good. Nothing wrong with that. But it's just weird how you've got Western developers and Ghost of Yotei. It's just funny how they've gone with the protagonist looking...
Nah.
Like, it's funny how you didn't base the model off the Japanese voice actor instead of, what's her name? The psycho one who's a bit of a mentalist. I think it's just weird how we've got this weird divide through Western female characters and Asian female characters. It's very weird. It's like I'm waiting for a Western developer to go over the top with their female character and just make them feminine. I want to hear your thoughts on everything about this game. What I've said, you need to drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know. Let's take a look at the comment of the day from my previous video, 10 things you need to know about Ghost of Yotei. Shout out to the member Loxley. What I love about your channel, Anton, is that you keeping it positive in anticipation of a new game. There are channels out there already branding it woke, but let's give it a chance. The game might still end up really good. And shout out to MTTT19. The only concern I have with this game is that it will be too repetitive like Ghost of Tsushima. Don't get me wrong, I love Ghost of Tsushima, but you have to admit most of the missions were extremely repetitive. Thank you for the comments. And first of all, for me, I absolutely loved Ghost of Tsushima. Did I feel like the missions were repetitive? No, I didn't. It's because I was so engrossed in the story and the world of Jin Sakai. I loved it. And to be honest, when you play a game, it's going to be repetitive in one way or another if you think about it. Like, how much variety can you get, say, from a racing game, from an RPG game? The gameplay loop is going to be kind of repetitive, especially for an open world game. You look at like Horizon, for example, is pretty much exploring the map, doing missions, killing robots. For me, it wasn't, but I guess everyone's different. I know there's a lot of divide with Ghost of Yotei. The more I go on X, and I don't know whether it's because of X, you just look at the divide of this. Like, I'm very excited with what this game has to offer. Do I care that she's not looking like how the Asian developers design their characters? No, I'm not too bothered. I'm not too bothered. Yes, it would have probably sold more and been more enticing if you did make it more like the Asian developers do, but I still think the gameplay looks absolutely amazing. And if you've been following this channel, you'll know that for me, it's just the story that I'm not too sure about. Like, I did read up something online that don't expect there to be any references to Jin Sakai. I thought that was a bit like, if that's true, it's a bit annoying, because I thought, first of all, the first one's a success. Wouldn't you love to know stories and legend stories from the original Ghost? But also, I think it's too early to say because we haven't heard much from this character. I don't know what her character feels like, and that is my concern. They've said there's more to the story than just a revenge story. How much more? What I wish for is that the gameplay is amazing. The gameplay, the open world feels amazing, and the story's good. I don't see the story being as good as the first one. That's just me, but I'm gonna be positive about this game. It's Sucker Punch, even though the last few years have been some of the big AAA companies have let us down massively, or I feel like they have, I think there's no reason for them to kind of do this to us. You never know for sure, but I'm going to be positive, and when the game comes out, we just judge it when the game comes out. That's all we can do. But anyways, I'm going to keep delivering some packages.